Hello everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to complete that blacksmith house. So really, in this episode, we're going to focus on the roof and that overhang for above the forge. In constructing the roof, I went with foam shingles, something I've never done before. And I really like the texture that I'm able to create on foam opposed to what I normally would use, which is cardstock. So I really do like cardstock. You can do it in strips, you can do it in individual shingles, you can get a really good effect with it, but usually I had to paint texture onto it. So in this case, the foam really makes it easier to dry brush and adds a lot of character to the piece. So let's take a look at the finished product. So this is the finished blacksmith house. We've completed everything on it, and it's pretty good for, I'm really happy with the overall finished product. I got everything I really wanted on this. Let's just take a look all the way around here. And we got everything we completed that we wanted. I think the only thing that I might do in maybe a future episode is I wanted to build like a quench or something. A barrel with some water effects in it. And that's maybe something we can look at doing in the future. Maybe I'll do an episode dedicated to making scatter terrain with water effects, and that might be really cool. And during that, maybe I'll make that quench so for the forge here. So let's take a look at the individual components. So this is the overhang. It comes off. I just made these little bits on here so it sits in the Tudor style, the design on the outside of the wall. And I spent a lot of time painting the inside. And I wanted to have the illusion of carrying those light effects that I did on the base. So carrying it right over, there would be a lot of light from the forge inside underneath this overhang. So I wanted to capture that. So we do spend a lot of time painting that in this episode, building this structure here. This is mostly balsa wood. There's some other popsicle sticks and other stuff in here that we created, and we'll cover that in the tutorial portion of it. So let's leave that off because we're just going to take apart the whole forge here. So this is the roof. And it's mainly made out of, I got two pieces of foam here. And I texturized it to make it look like stone in here. And I did the inside to carry over like the rest of the project where I did the interior and exterior. So this is a completely playable piece that you can play through the entire structure. And so let's take a look at those shingles. So this is that using foam, and you can see it. I was able to do a lot more texture on it, and I really like this. And I'm really gonna play with this in the future and do other projects where I do foam shingles and kind of maybe get away from the cardstock for a bit. I still probably will use cardstock depending on the design of the building. So now I added this balsa wood top on it, and it kind of looks, maybe more Viking than a Tudor style. But really it serves the purpose of just being able to pull the roof in and off, off the second floor. And that's why I really it's just more of a functional piece than anything else. But I like the way it looks. I feel it kind of adds to the whole thing. And now another reason why I put these popsicle sticks and kind of designs on the inside is it stops the whole thing from warping, essentially. So you got the shingles and the balsa wood on the top, and then you got this design and popsicle sticks on the inside, and this keeps this from, warping at all, and it keeps it nice and straight and true, so it fits nice onto the roof. I also made a little notch out of there, and that's for the fireplace. So this fits nice onto the top of the floor. So we're going to cover that in this episode and how to construct that. Now, just put it back together again. We won't go over the other two floors. We've done that in previous episodes. But essentially, you can play through this entire piece. Just give it one more look. And really, really happy how this turned out. All right. If you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get down to the table and let's start painting and let's start crafting. Okay, so I started by cutting out some dollar store foam board to fit exactly into the opening of the second floor here. So when I installed that second floor, I put those balsa wood corner pieces in there, and when I put that brace across the center, I kind of sunk it a little bit in, so same width or thickness, let's say, of the dollar store foam board. That way the foam will sit inside there and not go higher than the edge of the roof. I plan on using shingles to do that. So I just showed I use a tinfoil ball to texturize the bottom of the, because that's the bottom of the roof, and that's the interior, so I wanted to have a stone look to it. So I'm going to show you how I made shingles. So yeah, I don't have a Proxxon cutter here. So we're going to do it with an old-fashioned knife. So I got an OFA, just a box cutter here, utility knife, and I put a brand new blade in it. So it's got a super sharp blade in it. And frankly, I'm just cutting really thin shaved pieces. So now if you have a Proxxon cutter, this would be extremely easy and really fast. You can set it to a certain thickness and cut it off. But I kind of wanted to illustrate that you don't necessarily need that. It's a little trickier, as you can see. But it is possible with this utility knife. So I did the whole thing. I don't have a Proxxon cutter. I just used my utility knife to do this. I'm just showing you I cut a whole bunch of them out. And once they're cut out, then I use this. It's really actually meant for cleaning up windows and stuff like that, to getting paint out. But it's great. It's like a wire brush, and I use it to put the wood grains in the shingles. So you can see the ones that I've cut earlier are nice, larger pieces. But I wanted to kind of demonstrate just quickly what I was doing there earlier with those smaller pieces. But most of mine were longer strips like this, and it makes it a little faster when you're making these shingles. So I'm just going to show you up a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see that the texture that I've added to these foam pieces. That's going to give it a really interesting look. So this is the first time I really went with the foam shingle. I usually use cardstock. So then I just showing you I did different sizes. I did small shingles, big shingles, just kind of an assorted bunch. I'm going to plan on gluing them individually onto the roof themselves. And then I'll give it kind of a random look to it. All right, so then I glued those two pieces of dollar store foam board together to make kind of the same shape as a roof, essentially. I just used some PVA, some glue to glue those together. And then I'm showing that I'm going to put some popsicle sticks. So the reason why I did this also is a decoration for the inside of it, but it also adds structure to this foam. As we add more paint and other things to it, it will tend to warp. But to counteract that, I have added that popsicle stick kind of design on the bottom, and that'll counteract it from warping, and it'll sit nice and straight in the roof. So now I have it sunken in. I have to do an overhang over top of the roof. So I wanted my shingles to overhang a little bit from the edge of the roof. So I decided to go with a little bit longer pieces of shingles. This could be cut smaller, but definitely if you're going to do the overhang, which would cover the lip here, you're going to need to do longer shingles. So I'm just showing you this process. So I'm going to spend a lot more time on this than I normally would on some of my other videos, just because I've never done this before, and I just kind of wanted to show everybody what I'm doing here. So I just kind of showed you I trimmed a piece off there, and I'm planning on gluing it on. So I did kind of, when I cut these into straight pieces, I did kind of cut them at an angle, some of them, and some of them I just I pulled out the center of it. I just wanted them to look a little more rustic and damaged on these shingles. So that's why they're not completely straight, like I showed you in the first part of the intro. As you can see, I'm just kind of layering them on top of each other, working my way out. And you can see I'm coming off the front on both sides because I need the overhang to come all the way around the roof. Now, the only tricky part was where the chimney comes up. I had to cut that out. And then I added that balsa wood kind of frame on the top of the roof. That was also to hide, where the shingles meet, also as a decorative piece, but also as a functional piece to able to pull the roof up. And when I actually put the roof on there, I realized that my overhang should have been even longer. And I wanted to cover up where all the shingles bump up to each other on the sides. So I added these other longer strips to the front and glued some matchsticks on there just to kind of frame it out a little bit. So it gave it a nice edged look on the fronts of the roof. And then I also cut that little decorative design. I know it looks kind of Viking, but I just wanted to add a little more design to it, to this roof. So I'm just showing you, I'm going to use multi-surface black craft folk art paint like I always do to harden those shingles. So then I moved on to building the overhang. So I'm just showing you, this is balsa wood right here, and I've cut out these shapes using that cutting board and kind of measured it out to make sure everything's nice and straight. Then I cut little support beams on there and just glued it all together with the white glue there, PVA glue. And I also made that kind of a ridge on the top so it's a little higher on the back there, mainly because I wanted to have a slant to the roof. And these are kind of like tongue depressors that your doctor would hand out to you. I kind of, it's like a wider popsicle stick, really. And I kind of just snapped them and give it that really damaged rustic look to it I really liked. And I wanted it to be just a tad different than the roof. Just like it looked, it was made out of scrap wood and to cover that area above the forge. So I'm just showing you I finished all the black primer paint on there, and then I'm going to move on to doing the same multi-surface folk art craft paint on the overhang as well. So now we've got them both done, and we're moving on to our real brown. So again, this is very repetitive to all the other jobs I've done. I like to use this color as my undertone, so the earth tones. So we'll put real brown and dry brush it on both these pieces with that bigger brush there. So this is after I've completed that. I'm just going to show you all the different pieces here, how it looks. And then we're going to move on to the bark brown. So that's the lighter brown that I always use. And we're going to do the same thing, dry brush it on there, cover the entire two pieces all the way up. So then we're going to move to our Pueblo, the orange color. And again, I'm going to be moving on to my Army Painter dry brush and be a little more sparingly, putting this on just a little bit. I just want to have hints of orange on here, but I don't want it to be ridiculously orange. Because I'm going to go with more of a gray-green kind of roof shingles. But I do like to have these undertones underneath. It's all about layers. I add a lot of layers to the things I'm painting. I don't know, it just gives it a real natural feel to it. So I like to add these colors into it. So I'm just showing you the same thing for the overhang as well. You might not be able to see it in the video, but I did use a X-Acto blade and carve like texture in there, just like I do on my popsicle sticks. So when I kind of dry brush it a little bit, it brings out the texture in the wood there. Just give it another nice element to it. So now this Pueblo is where I start adding light effects. So as we did in the first video, I need to start adding a lot of orange to the inside of where this is going to be over top of the forge. So it would be completely lit up. There would be a lot of different variations of orange and red and yellows in there, highlighting where the forge is on the inside. So it'd be dark on the outside, but very lit up on the inside. So we're going to capture that in paint here. So we are certainly gonna spend some time in this portion of it, and I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So I'm not going to the outside, just the inside, and I'm adding that orange on here. I'm not being overly too careful deciding where this would be. It would probably be virtually everywhere on the inside. We're going to use the red and the yellow to highlight where it's either darker with the reds or more lit up where the light first hits with some brighter yellows that we're going to get to in a minute here. But we still have to lay our groundwork with that Pueblo orange paint first. And you can see we're just adding a glow on the inside there. I'm just trying to illustrate that right in this portion of the video. So this is after I've pretty well hit it quite a bit with the orange. I'm pretty happy where I've hit all the areas that I think would be lit up. And then we're going to just take a detour from the light effects for a sec, and we're going to use that camel. What I want to do is paint up the stone on the inside of that roof. Because this is a playable piece all the way through the whole thing, the inside has to be just as good as the outside. So I made sure to decorate both portions of it. So it doesn't matter where you look in this piece, everything is finished. So that's just another medium-sized Army Painter dry brush. And it really is not a whole lot of paint on there. I mean, I'm really kind of rubbing it in. I like to rub it in when I'm doing this kind of stonework on more of a flatter surface. I may do circular motions, let's say if I had bricks or stones there, because I just want to capture certain edges of it. But I kind of rub it on when I'm doing just texturized dollar store foam. It just hits enough of it, and it gives it a good stone feel to it. I did a similar technique on the inside of the second floor and main floor as well on the walls. But I figured out I didn't show you it as much in that video, so I figured I'd show you a little bit more in this portion of the video, just to see how I did that, so you can capture that in there on the main two floors. All right, so then I'm going to go back to the smaller piece here. I'm just going to show you quickly what the stonework looked like when it was done. Pretty happy with that. We are going to add this dragon red, by Army Painter. And it's kind of a darker red, and this is where the light is hitting the least. So as it fades out closer to the outer edge, this is where you would hit your reds. Now, similar to the way I do my lamps, I kind of just put the colors in first. So the reds, the oranges, and the yellows, and then I'm going to start blending them. So you're going to get variations of it. So as it gets closer, it may be darker to the one outer edge, and then it'll be lighter as you get closer to the light. So I will mix the red with the Pueblo and get kind of a reddy orange color. And same goes when I go to the yellow, so I'll mix it with the orange and get different variations. So I'm just kind of showing you a little bit of that. Again, it doesn't look too blended right now. It's more of just adding chunks of color. And then when we add on those other mixtures of the colors together, we're gonna blend it in a little bit more. So I did spend a lot of time on this. I did add a light to the forge, as you guys remember in the first video. But even if the forge isn't on, I wanted to have it look like it's lit up anyways. So it kind of just, I decided to do two different things in here. So add lights, actually physically putting a light in there, or actually do it through paint. I've really wanted to do a piece with light effects. And I've never done it on my miniatures, and that maybe might be something in a future episode, is adding light effects to minis. So that's what I was illustrating right there, a mixture of the red and orange. So you can see it gives you a nice reddy orange color, and I'm starting to blend that orange and the red together, so it seems like it's a glow more than two different colors, right? That's very extreme. I like to blend them in together. So you can see the outer would be dark. Now, if you were looking at a lit area, it actually would almost be black when you're straight looking at it. It's really lit up on the inside and really dark on the outside. So now I'm going to use that yellow ochre. So this is kind of a darker yellow. We are going to go to an even brighter yellow, but we're going to start with this darker yellow first. Again, similar to the orange-red mix, start with that bright color. And really what I'm going to do is just hit these edges. Kind of like people call it edge highlighting, essentially. People use white and other things to edge highlight stuff. I'm going to use this yellow. But this is exactly where the light would hit first, is right on the edges. And it kind of would bleed darker as it went outwards. So I'm trying to capture that. Now, I suggest if, this is your, first time doing light effects, which technically this actually was my first time doing it. I spent a lot of time looking at different pictures of lit, wood timbers or campfires. I just went on the internet and just scoured looking for all sorts of how light acts to, from a campfire or a forge or and what that looks like. And that's really where I got my reference points from. I didn't have it sitting in front of me, but it gave me an idea of what it would look like. And then I try to capture that in paint. So I'm just showing you. This is pretty tedious work. It's a lot of layers on top of each other, but I think it's worth it. So now you can see I've added quite a bit of yellow into that red and mixed it in together. And now we're going to go to this Army Painter. It's a dynamic yellow, and it's really, really bright. And I'm going to hit those same edges again, but now it's contrasting, right? It's even brighter now. So I bled some of the darker yellow into the oranges, and now we're going to get even lighter again and hit some of those edges again. And it just gives you a nice blend out and a really realistic feel to this light effect. So I know I'm spending quite a bit of time on the video on this. But it's something that, I thought would be something different that I haven't really spent a whole lot of time doing. Mainly because I've never actually done it myself. But I'm really happy how this worked out. And I'm kind of inspired by these doing this and maybe doing it in other projects. Like I said, maybe miniatures. It would be really cool to do a ship with light effects. That might be something that do with one of my Blood&Plunder ships, is do light effects on it. Maybe it's a ship in the night, That'd be really cool. All right, so this is after I've completed. I'm really happy with the light effects inside there. And just kind of showing you that you can look at certain angles and you can see the glow coming out from there. So now we're going to address the wood. So really, I just have my primary colors, my priming colors on there right now. But we're going to go to this dark stone, necromancer cloak, ash gray, and morfang brown, and matte white. And I've shown this in other portions of the video and other videos. This is the combinations I use to make look kind of like aged wood. And it's also the colors that I started using on my shingles. So then I moved to an army green, commando green, and this skeleton horde wash here. Actually, it's a contrast paint, sorry. And I use that on the shingles as well. Then I use matte black as I needed to add some shadows in here. So this post here would create a shadow, and these other posts would. So I wanted to capture that. Also, I wanted to dirty up around the chimney and the roof area where the chimney's most likely going in that direction. Maybe that's where the wind blows mostly, and it's darkened on the roof. So I wanted to add that on there. I added some to the top of the shingles and the overhang. All right, so that's pretty much the project. I'm really happy with the way this blacksmith house worked out. I'm just trying it out here with some Spanish minis and Dutch minis, my Blood&Plunder miniatures, and just really liked how this turned out. So there's the forge. I turned it on, but even if I turn it off, I got those nice light effects that give it the illusion of being lit up, but not actually being turned on. Really happy with the overhang. This is a fully playable piece that you can play all the way through. I think this would be an excellent piece to be used for Dungeons and Dragons. You can play your characters in there. I was going to add some furniture and other stuff in there, but maybe I'll do that in other episodes, more scattered terrain. But I just wanted to build the overall piece here. So I'm going to take it apart. So that's why I put that little lip on the roof there, just showing you. And I kind of made a mistake here. I forgot to, I got to take the overhang off first before I pull the second floor off. Just showing you that second floor with the staircase and everything. Yeah, it took 3 episodes to do this, but I think it was worth it. Just to get my original vision for this. I wanted the extra time to complete it, so I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this 3 series of videos to complete this blacksmith house. I really enjoyed building it. It has given me ideas for other things in the future, foam shingles and light effects and other things that I'm just starting to dabble in. I think that there's a lot of potential there. Alright, so if you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. Alright everyone, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.